I'm Heather Tobin. I see that the session just started recording, so if anyone else is curious about that, this will be recorded. So I'm Heather Tobin. I work at the University of Denver. I'm the Associate Director of Curriculum and Program Development right now for online program services here. And I'll be talking about a topic that I've actually been writing about for a book chapter that's coming out soon. And that reference is in the references. But we'll be talking a lot today about how to use ChatGPT to streamline and optimize the course design process. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your ideas about that. But first, I think we should start off with a little icebreaker. And I don't expect everyone to answer. It looks like we have about 16 people here right now. But we have time for probably around 5 or 6 responses. So when you have an idea, you can let us know by either raising your hand or typing it directly into the chat. So you could use that raise your hand feature. But here's the prompt for our icebreaker. What is one way that ChatGPT could have made a difference in a historical period in the past, or that it might make a difference in the future? And for this, imagine like ChatGPT helping historical figures or changing key events or even assisting in future milestones for humanity. Who has an idea here? Oh, and when you share your idea, please make sure to also say your name and which college or university that you're affiliated with first. Looks like we have a couple more people joining. I'm not seeing anything in the chat, are you?
I am not seeing anything in the chat, no.
All right, any hands raised? Okay, Val King wrote, the US Constitution could have been shorter or longer. And this is Val King from the Wharton School at UPenn. Greg Wells shared data to assist NASA. These are fun ideas. Are they spurring any additional thoughts for anybody else? Possible cures for cancer. This is Eric Bartlett. And Greg and Eric, do you mind also sharing which university or institution you're with? All right, well, Greg is with Colorado State University. Eric is with Mitchell Hamlin Law School, St. Paul, Minnesota. Thank you all. All right, I think this might be a little challenging for us to continue with, given that people are still sort of trickling in. So we'll go ahead and move on for now. But thank you for those of you who did participate in that icebreaker. Hopefully it helped to sort of loosen you up a little bit, stir your imagination, and get you ready for thinking creatively about the potential for ChatGPT technologies in transforming what we do in teaching and learning. So next, I'll set the stage for our gamestorming activity by providing some background on the topic or the challenge that we'll be exploring together. Traditionally, online course design processes involve several months of preparation, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of, with an average, according to a lot of research, of around 70 hours that are required of faculty or other course authors, which is particularly true as practices continue to evolve in response to COVID-19. And faculty have been reporting that the time and effort that is required for developing online courses is more intensive than developing a face-to-face course. Recent studies suggest that AI writers like ChatGPT-4 can significantly reduce educator workload through automation of text-heavy tasks like creating lesson plans or course outlines or syllabi, or even test questions, or maybe even in helping with designing effective grading rubrics. But it's also strongly recommended in all of those resources that instructor expertise remain a crucial element within the course development process in order to ensure rigor and authenticity in the process and in the resources that are generated. So the integration of AI writers like ChatGPT marks a significantly encouraging shift in the way that course content can be developed by significantly reducing the workloads of the course authors. In fact, most educators and students currently report that they're already using ChatGPT to support their work. And that is actually something that the Walton Family Foundation reference points out, if you're interested in looking at that evidence. I should also note that all of these references are provided in the last slides of the presentation if you're wanting to look into any of them or read them in full. So to dig into this issue, we'll be using a gamestorming exercise. And the last step we need to do before we get into that is for me to provide you with a brief overview of what gamestorming is, and then to review the general guidelines for using the strategy that I've picked for today. So gamestorming is a set of co-creation brainstorming activities that are great for examining things deeply, or for exploring new ideas. And the term gamestorming was coined by Dave Gray, Suni Brown, and James Mukanifo. I think I'm saying that wrong, Mukanufo. And this was back in 2010. And you can learn more about it if you follow the link that's on this slide. It's just https gamestorming.com. A lot of these concepts will be familiar to any of you who've engaged in design thinking exercises, but the basic steps for using any game storming strategy include establishing the problem, reviewing the game objectives, reviewing the game structure or rules, and then most importantly, being sure to play along and share your ideas and let each other's ideas inspire you. I'm going to say this a few times today, the weirder, the better. So get creative. Take risks. So we will break into groups at certain points, which I'll share instructions for in a few minutes. When we're in this larger group, though, in this format, there are a few ways that you can participate, including raising your hand by clicking the raise hand icon that's in the webinar controls area. And then you click it again to lower your hand. And you can also click on the reactions tool at the bottom menu and select an emoji to display if you want. Or you can feel free to type in the group chat area or even private message or PM the moderator, Julie, as needed. And what is your name? I think she's just listed as moderator in the chat list. So if you're wanting to message her privately, you can do it that way.
Moderator Julie B.
Thanks, Julie. Any questions about that? Okay. Looks like there aren't any questions. I'm going to put a URL into the chat right now, and I'll do this again later when we are actually using it. But if you want, you can use it right now to open things up and get yourself queued for later. Hold on a second. Here we go. All right, so when I set up the breakout rooms, I'll create groups of about 5 people, give or take one, to allow for some more direct discussion and innovation with each other, conversation. So please be sure to copy that link that I just put into the chat. It's a link to a collaborative Google presentation space that I've set up for us to use for this conversation where you can capture ideas. So once you're in your groups, be sure to identify one person in that group to be the scribe or the note taker, and that person will take notes on behalf of the group in the appropriate area of the slide presentation. You can edit that slide however works best for your style to capture the group's ideas, and you're also welcome to create additional slides if needed, but make sure that you include the group number at the top of each new slide so we know which group that they were generated from. You don't have to include your names. This is mostly anonymous, just a way for us to capture our ideas, and I'll share the results with ELCC to put up on the website later. Are there any questions about that process? Okay. All right, it's time to start playing. So first I'll explain the structure of the game and the rules that we'll be using. So the do, redo, and undo game storming strategy, if you're interested in learning more about it, it's on page 164 of that playbook. It's designed to help us think critically about the decisions that we make when we're designing systems and processes, particularly in the realm of technology and workflow. So here's how it unfolds. So first is the do. We start with the best case scenario or initial plan or approach to something. And then next we'll analyze the scenario through thoroughly and start to identify potential pitfalls or limitations that could arise, the worst case scenario. Then we'll brainstorm how to change our approach proactively to avoid those issues completely, or by considering how we might do, redo, or undo different elements in order to adjust that situation to be more successful. And throughout that activity, we need to make sure that we're prioritizing creativity, flexibility, and resilience. And the prompts that I put together for you are a little outside the box. So hopefully they'll get us thinking in more creative ways. So if somebody suggests a possibility that seems absurd to you or off the wall, respond with yes and, for example, rather than shutting it down in order to add to the idea. And remember, the weirder, the better, because it'll get us thinking outside the box. So for this first part, it looks like we have about 21 people. I think we should discuss this as a larger group to get us started. Remember the ways to participate of raising your hand, using an emoji, or typing in the chat. You can also, if you raise your hand, we'll give you audio so that you can speak. Julie, are you able to help me with giving them the ability to talk?
I sure can.
Great. All right, and I think that that would probably be preferable. So if you don't mind, you can keep your camera off since this is being recorded, but if you don't mind sharing your ideas verbally, that'll help everybody to kind of play along and listen to what all you're saying and maybe add to those ideas as well. So for this first question, what are some innovative ways, and this is a kind of dry, straightforward question, but it's just going to set the stage for us for the more creative approach that we'll come to in the next two pieces. What are some innovative ways that ChatGPT could be used for online course creation and development that either you've thought of or that you've seen done before?
We just jump in, Heather?
Sure, yeah, you can also raise your hand if you want, Greg, so that people aren't speaking over each other, and then we can give you the ability to jump in, but go ahead. Let's start with you, Greg.
Well, let me just first say I'm still a little skeptical about the use of these types of technologies, but that's a whole nother presentation. So I would say I've seen used in our organization the ability to use it to generate rubrics, generate module objectives based on the course objectives. And I've also seen images to be used in a course. So those are currently the three ways. There's many more, I'm sure, but those are the three ways I've either seen it used or have used it for developing online courses at CSU.
Thank you. And if anyone's hearing me type as he speaks, I'm making a short bulleted list that I'll share in the chat so that you have that information to bring into your next discussion, your breakout rooms. Thank you, Greg. Those are some good ones. Anyone else? Looks like Val King also shared great for course outlines and objectives. And Greg, to make sure I reflected what you said correctly, I have generating rubrics, generating module objectives, and generating outlines. Did I miss one?
Images.
Okay, so that would not necessarily be through using an AI writer, but through a different AI tool, right?
That's true.
So it's a great idea though. And I think another brainstorming session or another activity would be perfect for that one too. But let's stick with ChatGPT and AI writers for right now, just to sort of like limit our scope so we don't end up in the weeds. Any other ideas? Oh, David K says assessments and quizzes. David, do you see them as two separate things or the same? I see the slash there.
I think they're one and the same, at least
All
for for a written exam anyway.
So, okay, so generating quizzes or written exams as assessments.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. What are some other ways that people have seen it used or think it could be used?
Amanda Hardman.
Hi, Amanda.
I got one letter in there and accidentally hit enter.
I saw that.
I was starting to write that I've used ChatGPT to create example work for students to analyze.
That's great.
Although I will admit it was with the intention of trying to show them the limitations of ChatGPT.
Not to get us too far off track, but is that how it ended up working, or did you end up adjusting because it provided good examples?
That is how it ended up working. And I actually tried to get ChatGPT to do some more sophisticated things that failed. I couldn't get it to do what I wanted,
Nice.
really.
So if I wrote create examples of bad work that students can analyze, that captures what you're saying?
Yeah, I guess you could put the value of bad on there. Although that's not necessarily how it has to be.
How about
just generate example work.
Got it. Generate example work for students to analyze. All right. Any other ideas or ways that it's been used that you've seen? Eric has his hand raised. Did you unmute him, Julie?
Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah, I would say so far it's maybe perhaps because a lot of legal knowledge is online is behind paywalls or other protected ways where the ChatGPT can't scrape off of those as easily. You can get some spectacularly bad fact patterns generated through there for students to work through, but it's again, like the previous speaker, I believe it was Amanda, had said, like the idea of like having it generate a fact pattern for them to go through, the students to go through, and then say why it or how it can be improved, I think is a really valuable thing. And perhaps as the models get more sophisticated, and they'll be better at that.
That's great. So to capture that, I wrote generate fact patterns or examples, depending on the subject area, for students to improve. Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
Great. Thank you. These are all great ideas. Are there any more? One that I haven't heard yet is using ChatGPT to summarize notes that the instructor may have put together for a topic to help generate a script for like a video that describes or explains a subject, or maybe a threshold concept that's difficult for students to understand or grasp in a way that would be sort of evergreen, like something that we always need to explain in a similar way. So we want to create a video asset to help display that, and ChatGPT being used to help generate the transcript around it, or even a storyboard, right? When given the right parameters. I thought I saw a chat. Oh yeah, Val, I got yours. The course outline and objectives suggestion. Thank you. It looked like something else got added just now. So I'm going to write generating video scripts, educational video scripts. And I'm also going to write summarizing instructor notes. Does that bring up any other ideas for anybody else that you'd like to share?
I'm not sure
Okay.
if Paul wants to speak or not, but I did unmute him. Or they, sorry, I can't read my own writing, sorry.
Who did you unmute?
Did Val want to speak out? Anything on what they've been putting in the chat or not?
Yeah, Val, is there anything you wanted to clarify in course outlines and objectives that you feel like hasn't been captured? Oh.
Okay, coughing instead. Okay.
All right, great. So I think we have a good list to start with here for this first piece. And this gives us some content, or I guess meat, really to dig into as we go into the next phase. So unless anyone has a reason to object, I'm going to go ahead and move on to part 2, which is good because this gives us a good chunk of time to work on those. All right, so in a moment, I'll be splitting us up into breakout rooms, and this is where you'll be using that collaborative Google Slides document to capture your ideas. First, let me type the list, and I hope this formatting isn't. Did this come through for all of you with giant bullet points, but hopefully readable?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure why I did the giant bullet points. And I can re-add the link for anyone who joined before or after it was added to the Google Slides. So here's that link. Remember when you are in your groups that you need to locate the slide that has your group number. And it looks like we have 20 people, so we'll end up with about 4 groups. I think I have slides for 5 groups. You can just ignore group 5. But once you're in your group, it should say in your Zoom area which group you're in, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And so you'll find the slide for that group, and that's where you'll enter your thoughts and ideas as you discuss as a group. So once you're in your groups, you'll discuss the following. You'll choose one of the 2. So you'll either discuss if ChatGPT were a superhero, what would be its kryptonite? Or you can discuss what is a way that AI writers could be used for online course creation that would get a person fired. So we're looking for worst case scenario here. And the goal is to really start identifying and articulating limitations of using ChatGPT in online course development, and to do this in a creative way that gets us thinking outside of our normal parameters for thought. Any questions about that before I break you into groups? When I bring you back from the groups in about 5 to 10 minutes, I think we're going to go for 10 minutes this first round and see how that goes. I would like for your groups to share out a little summary of what you came up with. So have the person, whether it's the person who's writing and taking notes or somebody else in the group, identify someone who would be willing to share the thoughts and ideas that your groups come up with. All right, and I will pop into each group too during that period to make sure there isn't anything going wrong or any resources that you need shared with you that you can't get to. All right, I am going to break you into groups now. Julie, I'm going to include you, or no, I'm not going to include you. You can join them manually if you'd like to, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, I'm opening the rooms now. It looks like we have 3 people who need to just join their rooms, down to 2. Debbie and Ty, if you can hear me, you just need to click the button to join your breakout room. Julie, we may want to pause the recording during these pieces, and then we'll just restart when we bring them back to talk. So this will be some silent space we're filling as we wait for people to come back from their breakout rooms. All right, looks like they're all coming now.
Perfect.
Great. And just so everyone knows, the recording did get resumed. So if you want your cameras off, now would be the time to do it. I don't know if they show up on the recording. I don't think so unless you speak. So it's up to you. It looks like almost everyone is back. Oh no, maybe not. What are you seeing, Julie, as far as people being back?
I'm seeing 16 back. We lost
Okay.
one, 17, 18.
Okay. Looks good. That's what I'm seeing too as far as total participants. That's great. All right, so hopefully you identified somebody in your group who's willing to share a short summary of some of the things you talked about or insights you got from that initial discussion. And we'll share a couple of those and then we'll break back out. And actually, I would like to know from you whether you liked being in a small group or if you'd rather do this last piece together as a larger group. So when you're sharing for your group, you could share your thoughts on that if you wanted as well. So who's someone from group 1 that would like to share what you all came up with?
Well, I was in group 1 by myself until I got put into a different group. So I did just put a couple notes down.
Oh, okay, that's right. So really our active groups were 2, 3, 4, and 5 then, right?
I think 2, 3, and 4. But I was thinking for my first and last bullet point about some like people who really are trying to do things professionally with ChatGPT, about like, you know, people who are trying to publish books that they fully generated through ChatGPT, and whether, you know, that's unique original content or whether it's copyright infringement. And then there were like early on some cases of lawyers who got in trouble for, you know, citing references generated by ChatGPT, and lo and behold, ChatGPT makes stuff up. So like that first and last bullet point, I guess, are.
Yeah, so to clarify for anyone, what you're referring to, I think they called hallucinations, where earlier on ChatGPT 3.5, and actually 4 does this too, depending on how you use it and what plugins you're using. But if you asked it to generate an essay, for example, including in-text citations to argue a certain point, it would make up references for that that seemed like they would be plausible and would go along with what you were looking for that weren't actually real. So that's how I think that's what happened with the lawyers who used it to generate briefs and then were found out and got in a lot of trouble and got fired. That's a good example. Thanks, Amanda. So Amanda, you were also in group 2. Did they select you to share out, or is there somebody else from that group who would like to share?
No, they did not. So I'll let group 2 add whatever they want to.
Thank you.
Greg.
All right, group 2.
I think we were group 2.
I think you were.
Okay.
Hold this up.
So
Go ahead.
we had, the 2 of us were drivers, so we weren't able to take notes. So I'm hoping I remember. I think that generally what we were talking about is the kryptonite is that you do lose a little bit of that human relatability to it. And then we just kind of said the same thing as the previous speaker on the fireball fence, is basically the reliability of the information, and that always the citations might not always be true citations. So that was the basic of what we talked about.
Okay. And do you have a preference? I think I'm just going to have us do a large group for the last question. It sounds like we've had some trouble with the breakouts and everyone participating or not.
Yeah, I think it would be better with the larger group.
Okay, thank you. All right, so group 3 included David, Greg, Sally, and Val. Who's your person to share out from there? Greg and Sally, I know both of you could easily share.
We didn't really select anybody. Val, I think, would prefer not to speak because she's not feeling well. But she took great notes. So I can just throw things out and hopefully the rest of the team will chime in if I miss something. So we identified, so we did what would get a person fired. So we identified 4 bullets. So we identified a professor using ChatGPT to create content, but claiming it to be their own original work. Second bullet was not verifying information correctness, bias, hallucinations, made up references, facts, which I think was mentioned earlier. Val gave an example of sharing company secrets, and she gave the example of Samsung. That'll get you fired. And then the last one is if an instructor submitted student assignments without their permission or use ChatGPT for evaluation and feedback without actually informing the student.
Great. I'm keeping note of all of these too, because for our next piece, we're going to want to select one of those things for each question for us to dig into. Thank you, Greg. All right, room 4 was Carol, Miha, Todd, and Greg. Which question did you all discuss?
In the chat, they're saying that Carol might be a good choice for the person to speak.
Well, Carol, you've been put on the spot.
Apparently, I'm not sure why, but we chose if GPT was a superhero, what would be its kryptonite? We basically came up with a list of concepts, kind of in a couple categories. The kryptonite would be poetry, children, innocence, emotions, creativity, citations, computation, and opinions. So those are kind of the concepts that we thought would be ChatGPT's undoing.
Did I get them all? Poetry, children, innocence, emotions, computations, and opinions?
And creativity and citations.
Thank you.
So there were 8. And we also talked like, you know, I think Mayha mentioned, you know, even drawing people having too many fingers, you know, so accuracy in the portrayal. Computation, we were specifically talking about math, but also, you know, could be broader than that.
Mm-hmm. So like unique symbols. It's not
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Okay. Anything else? All right. So for the kryptonite question, this is the list of what we have so far. And we need to pick one of these to talk about the following piece, right? So if we were to lump these things into categories, it sounds like we have reliability, relatability, or humanity, right? So that would sort of, I think, also apply to emotion and opinion. So we say reliability, relatability, creativity. I think that includes things like poetry, and then accuracy. Well, really accuracy and reliability are similar. So reliability, relatability, and creativity as kryptonite. So we could pick one of those. Let's do that first, and then we'll look at the way that it could be used and how it might get someone fired second. So for this second piece to that, this is where we would talk about potential strategies for overcoming what we've identified as those limitations, right? So if we were, let's pick one if you want, right, between the three, which would be reliability, relatability, or creativity. How would ChatGPT's superhero sidekick protect it from its kryptonite? So let's say it's Batman. What is its Robin? And how does Robin help it to overcome that limitation? Anyone can feel free to join in on this, by the way. You can raise your hand or you can just start speaking because I think there's only 15 of us.
You just have to hit the space bar and they should be able to unmute themselves.
Thank you. Ah, reliability. Oop, this does not need to be capitalized. I'm not trying to shout at you. Oh, wow. Relatability and creativity. So maybe another way of thinking of this would be, what is something that could be invented or some enhancement that could be made to ChatGPT that would allow it to be better at being reliable, relatable, or creative?
A better Chat GPT?
Just a better one. So one that, for example, would be able to maybe make different suggestions based on specific personas for relatability, or one that only drew from specific resources that were vetted by the person who asked it to, or one that was able to think more creatively and outside of the box, or maybe even to emulate certain types of creative thinking. Yeah, and there are actually, I can't remember what they're called. If somebody knows the name of this, please chime in, but I think that there's now a new feature called GPT engines or GPT models or something like that, where you can specifically create a set of parameters around ChatGPT for people to engage with. So you could say, for this version, I want it to always create output that follows this format, and I want it to only pull from these references, right? What are they called? I think they're called models. Does anybody remember? Oh yes, and having a bigger, more diverse data set would definitely enhance it, right? Right now, we don't know necessarily what has fed into it. I know there's some issues with plagiarism there, as far as what content was pulled in as being publicly available for it. I know a lot of artists have complained about that before too. That's a great suggestion, Neha. Any other thoughts on this? Greg raised your hand. All right, let's unmute Greg.
Well, this probably goes against everything ChatGPT stands for, but I am thinking perhaps they can narrow down the scope of, I'll just call it a search, and ultimately end up with certain sites that are verifiable and have the ability to produce valid, reliable content based on some set of parameters. Yes, I'm talking probably of an oversight committee that would probably again go against everything ChatGPT stands for, but essentially either having a tool or set of tools that could verify what ChatGPT discovered.
Yeah, I love this idea, Greg, because it reminds me a little of the the immediate knee-jerk reaction that we saw with all of the plagiarism detectors and ChatGPT detectors, right? But maybe instead, thank you, Julie, for the heads up. Maybe instead, if these tools were geared more toward reviewing and helping us in that process of then of vetting what it's generated and making it better. So I like to think about the analogy of the calculator helping us to do math on a different level instead of it making us all incapable of doing math, right? ChatGPT could also be used in a way that allows us to do more than we could before instead of making us incapable of writing. All right, so we do only have a couple of minutes left, and maybe this is more food for thought for all of you, thinking through ways that you might pull back your worst solution or the thing that someone might use it for to get fired and make it more usable or reasonable. So one example that came up was using it to create something and basically plagiarizing ChatGPT by claiming that as your own work. And one thing I could think of to pull that back would be maybe using it to generate ideas or initial drafts of things, and then having a process where you take what it's generated and you refine it and you add your own thought and idea to it and you sort of shift it. Because part of the process of using a ChatGPT or AI writer is creating and crafting a really useful prompt. So in a way, what it generates is partially based on what you did to generate that, but what it spits out then also needs to be reviewed. So there's sort of the bookend approach of, I'm asking it to do a thing and I'm asking in very specific ways, and then I'm taking what it's done and I'm making that more authentic to myself. But other things that came up for you to consider how you might pull that back would be not verifying information for bias and accuracy once it's come through. Putting things in there that are secret or sensitive, like company secrets, submitting assignments, things that violate FERPA, or using it for evaluation and feedback without letting people know or asking for their permission to do so. Thank you all for sharing your ideas. I will add these slides so that you can see them later, and you can look into the references. They're listed here. My email is also on this slide if you'd like to reach out to me directly. But thanks, everybody.
And we've put
Have
a
a good rest of your
chat
conference.
in the
What's
chat,
that?
we put a survey. If anybody would like to just quickly fill out that survey to help us out for future conference ideas, that'd be awesome. Thanks, Heather. You did a great job.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
I don't know if you want to stay on just for a little bit in case anybody wants to holler at you. That's my word. I should have had afternoon coffee. Anybody
Oh,
wants-
no, I like it. My matcha is helping.
Oh, there you go. There you go. And it looks like we're down. So
Great. Thank you so much, Julie.
you're welcome. Sorry for the confusion in the beginning.
That was nobody's fault. Probably mine. I think I logged in before and it just stopped reading my.
Well, and they're telling me over in Discord, I was supposed to be in the other one and Grace came into this one. But when I was sitting in the other one, nobody was there. Nobody was waiting. And I thought, oh, I went into the wrong area.
Well, it
So
worked out. Grace
it
flipped with
did.
you.
It did. Grace went to the other one and all was well. So anyway,
Great.
have a great afternoon. See ya.
Thanks, you too.
Are you going to be there on Friday or no? You're somewhere else, aren't you?
Yeah, I
You're-
am. I wanted to come in, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it.
Okay.
I'm in Colorado. I don't think I'm
Right.
gonna be able to make it in.
Right. Oh, bummer. Well, if
Yeah.
things change, come on down to Boulder campus. We're gonna have great food. So.
Okay, maybe I will. I'll try.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.